tea leaves is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel. Yeah. What's up, my dudes? Boys, I'm real concerned. I'm real worried about the future of MX bikes, and this is no bullshit. This is not me just trying to stir up some shit. With everything that's happened with Beta 17, it really, I feel like, has exposed a lot of the deeper issues with the way that MX bikes works and the way that, you know, you got all these OEM bikes over here that everybody's riding in the game that were not actually made by Piboso, the developer. So then when Piboso comes out with a new beta, it doesn't really seem to match up with the previous OEM pack that just came out, you know, and then you got all that conflict between the two. And I'm just confused at this whole entire situation. Like, I really am. It's unbelievable. So I guess my biggest question is, what's the point in Piboso going in there and making all these changes to the game, physics-wise or mechanics-wise or whatever, to change the way the bike feels, right? What's the point in Piboso doing all that with a new beta to then just have everybody not even ride the actual default Piboso bike in the game that the entire beta was intended around, but to then go ride on a new OEM pack bike dyno in the game that wasn't even made by Piboso to begin with, and none of the characteristics of the bike were designed really by Piboso for that new beta. Do you see what I'm saying? It makes no sense. None of that shit makes any sense, dog. It doesn't. And this is not me trying to hate on MX bikes here. I'm genuinely, like, worried about this for the future, because if we're going to keep doing this OEM bike pack shit made by community people in the game, okay, there's going to have to be a closer connection between the OEM bikes that they're making and then Piboso going in there with a new beta in the game, so that you don't have this complete disaster tornado, bro, every time a new beta comes out, right? I'm actually on this default Piboso bike right here. Bro, this bike is turtle slow right here, dude. I'm not going to lie to you. Man, it is a trip going back to that default bike after getting used to the speed of those newer OEM bikes. Oh my gosh, man. It's crazy. But that's my whole, I just can't figure that part of it out. Like, why are we not riding on the bikes that Piboso actually made and actually designed the entire game around? You know what I mean? Piboso is not the one going in there and designing their new beta around the newest OEM pack, aka all of the bikes that everybody's riding in the game because they're faster than the normal bikes in the game. That's not even what Piboso is making their new betas around. They're making it around the default Piboso bikes in the game, but the whole entire problem is nobody rides on those bikes because they're not fast. They're not to that speed level that all these tracks were built around, right? With these OEM bike packs in the game. So then when you try to go in there on one of these newer Supercross tracks, bro, good fucking luck doing that on that default orange Piboso bike in the game. Bro, you're going to be fucking wide open everywhere and still coming up short on everything. So that's my whole thing. In combination with that little bit more slide effect feeling to the slide potential feeling to the bike with Beta 17, it makes it even harder to ride those default stock bikes in the game. So it's so bizarre to me that we were in there riding on these OEM bikes that were not even designed for the beta. It's just, I don't know, man. That is so much confusion going on there. My personal thought on this is, I don't understand why Piboso doesn't just go in there and make a handful of their own bikes. You know what I mean? Like their default orange, you know, KTM lookalike bike. I don't know why they don't just go in there and have a green one, a yellow one, a blue one, a red one, right? Not calling them Honda, Cowie, and all that type of shit, but just go in there and have a bunch of different quote-unquote dynos in the game And then your community people can then just go in there and put whatever kind of bike, you know, graphic or model or skin on that dyno that was made by Piboso, the developer, okay? And then that's what everybody would be riding on. And that would eliminate so many of these issues that you get whenever a new beta comes out and it doesn't match up with that community-made OEM pack, right? But if Piboso is ever going to do that, they're going to have to make their default bikes in the game faster, because it's to that point where the community-made OEM bikes in the game are just so much faster that it makes the actual normal default Piboso bikes in the game basically obsolete. It makes them like nobody's going to go ride that shit. But that's what the entire physics of the game are built around. Holy shit, bro. I can't get over this right here. So anyways, with this new Beta 17, right, a lot of you guys talked about, bro, the bikes are broken. The bikes are broke. Oh, they fixed the bike, right? All this type of shit. But my question to that is, did they really break the bikes? Were the bikes really broken? Or was it more so Piboso just made a change to the actual mechanics of the game that then changed the bike for how you had it set up, you know, and how you play the game? Is that more like it was? Then they just broke the bikes, right? That seems more like what it is to me. It's anytime Piboso goes in there and they make a change that makes the game harder, you know, you're going to have a shitload of the community that's going to be like, oh shit, the bikes are broken. Oh fuck, what's going on with the bikes? What did they do to it, man? Because you've gotten so used to the way that previous beta felt that any sort of change to the game that makes it harder, you're going to think that's the worst update ever. And that is my concern right there, because what happened was, right, Piboso took out that quote-unquote hidden assist in the game, and it sort of changed the air feeling in the game for a lot of people, and enough people complained about it to where Piboso then went in there and backtracked and have now reverted everything to the air feeling that it had pre-Beta 17. Like, what the fuck? I really don't understand that right there. I really don't understand that. And it worries me in the particular sense of, I feel like it's going to have Piboso so gun-shy now at this point to make any more advancements to the bike or the physics or changing the game that makes it harder or makes the bike flip over more or makes the bike slide more in the corner, whatever. I feel like they're going to be so careful to make any of those changes now because they know half of their fan base or more is going to lose their absolute shit when that happens. You know what I mean? Because they're so used to the speed feeling and the easiness of the game that it currently has, that I just don't know if Piboso is really going to then pull that trigger to advance the game and continue to make it more like a simulator, more difficult. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I'm really concerned about that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the OEM bike pack shit that's not made by Piboso, that shit just don't even make any sense. It don't even make any sense, bro. It's just like on MX Simulator. I think a lot of you guys got a little confused on that other video that I made about this, but on MX Simulator, it has OEM bike packs for it as well, but the entire difference is the community-made OEM bike packs for MX Simulator are entirely visual. You know, it doesn't actually change the core characteristics of that bike dyno that was made by the developer of the game, JLV, okay? But that's what's totally different about MX bikes. You got these OEM bike packs that are completely different bikes at the core than the bikes that were made by Piboso, the developer of the game. Do you understand what I'm saying? So something's going to have to be figured out there. You know what I mean? Or we're just going to have this same process every single time there's a new beta. You're going to have that newest OEM bike pack that doesn't match up with the newest beta, so then you got to go back and ride on the slower default orange bike of the game to get the full effect of the beta, and then you got to wait however much time it takes them to come out with a new community-made OEM bike pack that was made around the newest beta, because that's not Piboso making the actual OEM bike packs. Oh, man. Do you see the problem here? Do you see the problem here? That's what I mean by the actual dynos of these bikes in this game, the characteristics of the bike, the speed, the power curves, everything other than the visual look of the bike should be made entirely by Piboso themselves, and that's it. That's it. And then the community should then go in there and make different models for it, you know, like realistic, newer Yamaha-style models and skins and bike graphics and wheels and all this other kind of stuff, that then you put that on top of that original bike dyno characteristic speed power curve bike that was made by the developer. That's really how it should be. Okay, that would solve all of your problems that you have with these newer betas conflicting with the OEM bike packs and shit like that. Because let's just keep it real. When Piboso comes out with a new beta, everybody's not going in there and riding on the OG default bike in the game. They're going to still ride on those new OEM bikes because they're that much faster in the game. And then therefore, all of those people are not even getting the full effect of the new beta change that was made for those original default bikes in the game, okay? So something's going to have to happen here. Like either Piboso's going to have to make that default bike faster, aka more competitive with the official OEM bike packs in the game. Something's going to have to happen there, because this ain't it, bro. This ain't it right here. It's causing way too many problems. It's just, this is exactly what I was talking about. And I think a lot of you guys get real confused at, I'm not saying don't have OEM looking bikes in the game, OEM, bike models or skins or whatever. That I'm not saying don't have any of that. Obviously, you want all of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying the fucking characteristics of the bike itself, the dyno itself, I do not feel should be made by community people in the game. I just don't feel like it should be, because that's not even what the developer is making the physics and the characteristics and all of these advancements to the game around. They're not making it for those new OEM bikes. And that's why those new OEM bikes feel so weird when a new beta comes out, because that's not even what they were made for. You know what I mean? So that's my big concern right there is, what, are we going to have to go through this every single time a new beta comes out? I mean, damn, guys. You really need to sit down and think about this for a minute. Like, I think the best way is just for Piboso to go in there and make, like I say, like a handful of different dynos in the game. So instead of just having that one orange stock, super slow bike in the game, they can have one that's got the exact same looking fenders and everything, but it's yellow and it's got slightly different characteristics and power curves. And they got one that's red and it's got different power curves and shit like that. Then they got one that's blue and it's got different characteristics and power curves and handling, shit to the feeling. And then people can pick whatever from Piboso dyno they want to run in the game, but then they can come over here and put whatever kind of model, they could put a Yamaha model on a red dyno, or a, a Honda model and bike skin on a orange dyno in the game. And that way you can make the bike look however you want to, but then have the characteristics and the actual bike dyno itself from Piboso themselves, the developer, bro. Dude, this shit drives me nuts right here. This is one thing about MX bikes that drives me insane. It's just, there's no logical sense around this. OEM bike packs that are not made by the developer, but they completely change the characteristics and dynos of the bikes. That shit don't even make sense, bro. It's like, why are you... I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's almost as if Piboso has given too much customizable control to the community, and then therefore the community kind of takes over by then making faster bikes, better bikes in the game, not just models and skins, okay, but actual better bikes in the game. So then everybody's riding on this shit that Piboso didn't even make. I mean, make it make sense, dude. You can't. You cannot make that make sense. No matter how you try to however you try to spin it in your head, you can't make that make sense right there, because you're not even actually riding on the bike characteristics from the developer of the game. Okay? So something's going to have to happen here. I really hope that Piboso continues to make the proper changes, and regardless of what it does to the OEM bikes in the game, regardless if it makes the game harder or it makes the newer aerial Supercross tracks way more difficult, whatever it does, bro, we're still in super beta. You know what I mean? About super beta prostate is what I thought about right there. Oh my God. Okay, move along, Smithy boy. We're still in beta here. So it's like Piboso needs to do whatever kind of changes they feel are best for advancing that feeling of the bike, regardless of what else it does with any other aspect of the game. Do you know what I mean? And with them backtracking with that, that hidden assist, different air feeling thing, that's not a good sign. That's not a good feeling that I have for that right there, because it seems to me like if the fan base complains enough about something, Piboso will then just go in there and instantly revert it and change it back to the way it was before, even though that wasn't even necessarily what they should have done. It just makes the game feel good again for all those people that got so used to that previous beta feeling of the game. Okay? So that was a big thing right there. Now, what I do want to say, though, is Piboso they haven't seemed to have reverted on the more sliding out in the corner potential, okay? That's one thing I did notice is still in the game. Even though they sort of reverted that air change thing, they haven't reverted the more potential slide in the corner. So even after this change, the bikes are still a lot harder to ride. They're a lot harder to get that power out of the corner and hit like triple ends and shit on the Supercross tracks, even after that reverted change to it. You know what I mean? So it worries me. Anytime that happens where a developer makes a pretty big change to something in a game that's in beta, and then it kind of changes the game a lot for a lot of people, so then enough people complain about it, and then that developer instantly goes in there and reverts that change back to the way it was before. That kind of shit worries me, and I really hope we don't see more of that in the future. Listen, any kind of change that Piboso wants to make to MX Bikes' physics or mechanics that makes the game harder, I'm fucking down for it, bro. I'm down for it. Even if it makes riding on these Supercross tracks stupendously hard or whatever, I'm down for it, man, because you got to look at the end goal. You got to look at the long term. You want to get a more realistic bike feeling at the end of the day. And there's just inevitably going to be times where Piboso has to make these changes or take out these hidden assists or do whatever these little things they have to do that's simply going to make the game more difficult. And you have to be able to accept that. You know what I mean? You got to be able to get over your little honeymoon attachment that you got to that previous beta feeling to the bikes in the game. And you got to be able to realize that we've got to be able to move on from that if we're ever going to get a advancement to the development of the bikes in these games, in this game. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people need to kind of wake up to that. And of course, I do think there was some bugs that came along with them removing that hidden assist. So maybe that's what some people were talking about when they're saying the bike was broken or whatever. But again, that's what you have to expect, though. I mean, when Piboso makes changes like that, yes, it will then also create more bugs that weren't necessarily there before, but then that takes more time to get those bugs ironed out. So then you kind of have to deal with that shitty feeling for a while, but then eventually you'll get to a better feeling. That's my whole entire thing I'm trying to say in this video. You know, I think there's way too many people that get way too attached to a specific beta feeling of MX bikes. And if whatever change that Piboso makes in a specific beta doesn't like make the bike faster or, you know, allow you to get around the track easier or whatever, you're going to have a lot of the fan base that's just going to instantly label it as a shitty update, or you've broken the bikes, or what the fuck's going on, the bikes feel shitty. But in reality, it's just because you've changed something that's made it harder. You've changed something that's, you know, the bike tries to slide more in the corner, so you can't quite get those triple ends as easy. You know, whatever the case may be. And my whole entire point is you got to let Piboso work. You know what I mean? You don't want to freak out too much when a big change like that is made. So anyways, that's all the information I could really gather from all these changes from beta 17, but I don't know what the fuck at this point, because, you know, I didn't even know there was a hidden assist in there until all that information kind of came out. So then, but it was like only certain people experienced it, but then they reverted it, but you can still experience the newer feeling if you set your bike up differently, but I feel like I already had my bike set up that way. I don't know, man. There's a lot of shit going on with it, but I really hope, for the sake of this game and the MX Bikes community, I really hope you guys can create a better system than what we have going on currently with this community-made OEM bike packs that are completely different characteristics and feelings of the bikes than the developer-made bikes in the game. We've got to figure out something else here. I don't really know. You know, I tried to speak about what I would think a solution would be for that, but... And it's not to say to not have OEM bike packs anymore, because you can easily still have that. You can easily still have official OEM bike packs, but my whole entire thing that I'm saying is specifically those OEM bike packs would just change the way the bike looks visually versus actually changing it mechanically and characteristics-wise and speed-wise. All of that kind of stuff should come from the developer, not community-made. Your community-made people should be making all of your visual stuff, like the newer models and the skins and everything like that, that you can then take and plop on top of those original dynos that were made by the developer that the newer betas were actually made around. Do you see what I'm saying, bro?